Two ways I simplify my content marketing efforts. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to share some information with you. The truth is, when it comes to content marketing, I have had a love-hate relationship with it for a very long time. I even posted about a year ago, I made a post about how content marketing was my enemy. Well, the real truth is I've been my own enemy, and I've needed to simplify that process. But I want you to know that content marketing is very important to what you do. It plays a huge role in your personal branding and getting the message out about the products and services that you offer. And it's just a great way to network with the community in general. So sharing your content is extremely important. Don't let me get you down about it, but I will say I've had a love-hate relationship with it for a very long time. Until recently, I was able to figure out ways, two of which I'm going to share with you today, to simplify my own content marketing process and efforts along the way. Now, it can still be time-consuming to an extent, but you have to weigh when you're taking that time and investing it into your business. If you're going to put it into content marketing, are you going to go out and do physical networking for business development purposes? You need to look at your content, why you're publishing it in the first place, what the purpose is of it, and then weigh the time that it's taking to do that against other efforts you might put into your business. Sure, there's some things that I do that provide a little bit more revenue for me than content marketing, but my content marketing efforts help with my brand, putting my message out to the marketplace, and so it's very important no matter how much of a love-hate relationship I have with it in the first place. So let's get right to it. Let me show you a couple things on my desktop. All right, so in the past I've talked to you about how I use Quora.com to help me come up with content that I'm going to share, and I want to show you kind of what that looks like and where I go to figure out what questions need to be answered. And that's really what Quora is. I think of it as almost like a Google search engine with people, right? So what I'm trying to say by that is if you have a question that you're not wanting Google to necessarily answer, you can actually come into Quora.com, you can post that question, and then you can ask specific people to answer the question based on their experience and background, or you can just hope that anybody answers it. Here on my homepage desktop, you'll see that I've got some questions in here. People asking, while listening to a startup pitch, did you ever hear something that made you say you can't be serious? I'm going to answer that one later, and the truth is, yes, I have heard some things said where I've thought you can't be serious. But the reason I've used Quora in the past is because I get a fair amount of people requesting questions from me on a regular basis, mostly around marketing and funding, the things I'm known for. And then it gives me an opportunity to give back and answer those questions and help people, point them in the right direction. But then when I'm asked questions like that, specifically when I'm asked questions like that on a regular basis, I use those questions and turn them into content. So you can see here 10 more people have requested that I answer questions. It says in the past 4 months. I think it's probably a lot more than that. In the last week, my answers alone have been viewed 548 times, so another channel for my content, you could say, to be going through, to be getting eyeballs on it, and then hopefully drive them over to my personal page. But have had quite a few people ask me questions specifically about funding. You can see here on the left of the screen, it says answer requests, so let's just take a look. I haven't looked in a couple of days. Here's some questions people have asked me. So, as a small business owner, should I apply for a business credit card? I can answer that one, and I probably will. But see how something like that could turn into a piece of content. Maybe I create a piece of content about applying for a business credit card, the pluses and minuses, why you should, why you shouldn't, what it accomplishes, how to get approved for a business credit card, what the rates are on business credit cards. I'm just rattling stuff off to you, and I've already named, 4 or 5 different pieces of individual content I could create strictly off of a question somebody asked me. How do I get investors to invest in a new non-traditional business? Well, that's what typically a lot of investors want to do is non-traditional businesses. I could create a piece of content around that. So I get questions all the time about how to raise funding for a regular business. Just the other day, I had someone refer someone to me who wanted to raise capital for a cookie, I believe it was a cookie dough business. It was a donut shop. And so what I told the individual was I'd be happy to talk to him and see if I can help, but investors typically don't invest in a donut shop. That's usually where you need to get loans, and we can go into that another time. Matter of fact, I could turn that into a piece of content. So I think you're getting the gist here. These questions are things I can turn into content. Well, Quora is one way I do that and have done it in the past, but I want to share a site with you I've actually known about for a while and used personally. Don't get too distracted by the guy on the screen. I've used personally, but I haven't used in quite a while, and that's answerthepublic.com. It's a really great resource, and what it is you can go in and plug in a keyword that you might use in a Google search, and then it will tell you the types of questions that people are entering into search engines around that keyword. So just last week, I talked about the idea of using SERPstat and a couple of other resources for keyword research and things like that. And in that, I use examples wine and bourbon. Well, tonight, we're going to use bourbon. I don't have any with me right now, but we're going to use that as a keyword. So I'm going to punch in bourbon, and we're going to see the types of questions that people are asking around bourbon and what they'd like to know. It's going to take a couple of seconds for it to populate. You can see it searching over here. Okay, so we have 191 questions that Answer the Public has found around the keyword bourbon, and they give you this great little visualization. I'm going to try not to move too fast. In the center here, you have sort of these questions that people can ask. Some questions that involve why in the word bourbon, when in the word bourbon, where in the word bourbon, where would be just about anywhere, right? How in the word bourbon. So you imagine over here, how is bourbon made? How is bourbon distilled? How bourbon biscuits are made. I've never tried that. I'd like to now that I've seen it. So we have all these questions. Look at all these different pieces of content I could create around bourbon. And just by plugging in this keyword, Answer the Public has given me what other people are looking for. And that's what you should be doing with your content in the first place, is answering questions that your clients are looking for answers to, or your prospects are looking for answers to. If you're answering the questions that they have burning in their head with your content over and over, you're adding value to their lives. Sooner or later, when they really need a service or a product to help them with something, you will be the one that they think of. So let's do an let's take a look at another resource I have found recently that I'm really enjoying. I'm going to search for it right now, and it's a book by, and I'm sorry, I'm probably going to butcher her name, but I believe it's Mira Kothan, and she has a website of her own. Here it is, and we can check it out. Well, actually, it looks like her website could be down right now. Uh-oh, that's not good, Mira. Well, let's do it the other way. Let's just take a look at the book. So the 1 Hour Content Plan is a book I bought through Kindle. It's her book. I did enjoy it. It's an easy read, and it might be a book that the title throws you off a little bit, but one of the things I loved about her book is not just the book itself, but really the guides that come along with the book. So throughout the book, she'll give you links that you can go to. And I've got a couple of them over here. You're not going to be able to see them very well, but I just want to show you the number of guides that she gives you. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all kinds of guides. I'll let you see just a little bit closer what this is. So this one is giving you how to come up with your ideal reader exercise, coming up with someone who is your ideal reader. So she gives you all kinds of guides to go with her book. It's a really great book, quick read. I highly recommend it, again, particularly for the guides, because it'll help you hone in. And what she does is, by asking you the right questions, having you come up with your ideal reader, and then coming up with topics that you're good writing about, she guides you along the lines of creating content. And within 30 minutes of going through a couple of her exercises, I was able to come up with a good 25 to 30 topics that I could talk about on a given day and in any given piece of content. And of course, if I really dug deep into those, I could take them even further and split them out into even more niche information just around those topics. So a couple of ways to simplify your content marketing efforts if it's taking you too long to do those things like it was me. A couple of things that I think will help you figure out how to come up with more content. Of course, there are ways to curate content as well, specifically others people, but I like the use of Quora. I definitely like using Ask the Public. Check that out, and check out Mira's book. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.